Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into some powerful, century-old wisdom from Orison Swett Marden. We're going to be talking all about how to cultivate a mindset for success.
So Marden kicks things off with this really bold premise. He's basically saying that our external actions can fundamentally reshape our internal reality and ultimately our success. He put it this way: carry yourself like you have a splendid mission, a grand aim in life. In other words, act the part of the winner you're trying to become.
Okay, so what does it actually mean to adopt a victorious attitude? It sounds great, but what's the practical advice here? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to break down Marden's entire philosophy into a clear, four-step framework that you can actually use, all pulled directly from his writings.
All right, first up is step 1. Marden calls this your personal show window. And his argument is pretty straightforward. You have to master your outward appearance. He compares it to a storefront window for your ambition. It's the very first thing the world sees, right? And the contrast he paints here is, well, it's pretty stark. Look at the two attitudes side by side. He says a triumphant, successful look inspires trust. It makes people want to believe in you. But a look of failure? That just creates distrust and projects doubt. The way he frames it is really interesting. It's not about being fake or deceptive. It's about advertising the winner you're actively trying to become.
Yeah, this idea of the show window is absolutely central to his thinking. Marden's point is that the world is going to judge you by what you put on display. So his advice is simple. Always radiate a cheerful, uplifting atmosphere. And this is key, no matter what your actual circumstances are.
And he has a fantastic story to back this up. It's a really powerful anecdote about a visitor to the super exclusive Athenaea Library in Boston. And you gotta understand, this place was members only.
So this woman, who apparently had no idea about the rules, just waltzes in with this incredibly confident, assured air about her. And because of how she carried herself, the staff just assumed she was a member. She spent the entire morning using all the library's privileges, and not a single person questioned if she even belonged there.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that her unwavering attitude, her show window, is what gave her total control of the situation. The quote says it all. Her victorious attitude dominated the situation. It put her in command of resources she otherwise would have had zero access to. Her mindset literally opened doors that were, for all intents and purposes, locked shut. All right, let's move on to the next step. You can see how we're building from the external, your appearance, to the internal. And that brings us to step 2, which is all about building an unshakable faith. Now, when Marden talks about faith, it's really important to understand he's not just talking about a religious idea. For him, faith is the internal engine of achievement. It's that deep-seated belief that opens up the path to, well, unbounded possibilities. He describes it as this divine link connecting a person to infinite power.
And he really drives this point home with an incredibly powerful statement. He says, no one can rise higher than his faith. No one can do a greater thing than he believes he can. Think about that. What he's arguing is that our level of faith, it directly sets the ceiling for what we can accomplish. It's our own personal limit. And to make this idea feel a bit more real, Marden points to some heavy hitters from history, people whose incredible faith completely transformed them. He talks about Moses leading his people out of bondage, Joan of Arc's absolute conviction that she was chosen to save her country, and even Napoleon's unshakable belief that he was a man of destiny. These are all examples of faith in action.
Okay, so you've got the strong outer appearance down, and you're building that deep inner faith. Marden says there's one more big hurdle. You have to confront the single greatest obstacle to your success. And that brings us to step 3, conquering your inner enemy.
So he poses this question. What is this internal enemy, this traitor inside every single one of us that's constantly trying to sabotage our ambition and hold us back from our true potential? Any guesses what it is?
Yep, it's doubt. Marden calls it a subtle traitor that just kills your initiative. It strangles genius right at the very beginning, before an idea can even get off the ground. He says it's this one thing that's holding millions of people back, keeping them from reaching their full potential.
But here's the good news. He doesn't just name the enemy and leave you hanging. He gives you a clear strategy for defeating it. He says you have to neutralize doubt with its direct opposites. You fight it with faith, you overcome it with hope, you destroy it with confidence, and you finally kill it with decisive action. It's basically a battle plan for your own mind.
So, let's recap. You've mastered your appearance, you've built up your faith, and you've conquered your doubt. Now you arrive at the final and maybe the most powerful step in Marden's whole process, and that's step 4,
making your dreams real.
This is where it gets really interesting. Marden believed that once your mind is focused and completely free from doubt, it starts to act like a powerful magnet. It literally attracts the very things it's concentrated on, pulling the resources, the people, the opportunities you need to achieve your goals, seemingly right out of thin air.
And this really gets to the core of Marden's belief system. Every single great achievement has to be created mentally first. Think about it. The telephone wasn't just built. It started as a persistent idea in Alexander Graham Bell's mind. The same goes for great leaders, great companies. It all begins with a visualized dream. As Marden puts it so perfectly, it is what he does with his brain that counts.
So, when you tie this all together, what you get is a complete journey. Marden's framework takes you from mastering your outward appearance to building that unshakable inner conviction, and it all culminates in tangible, real-world results. It's a full system.
And really, this is the ultimate promise of the victorious attitude. This quote just sums it up so beautifully, doesn't it? The human will, that force unseen, can hew a way to any goal, though walls of granite intervene. It's this powerful idea that a concentrated will, backed by that unwavering faith we talked about, can overcome absolutely any obstacle.
But, Marden wrote this over 100 years ago. The world he lived in was so different from ours. And that leaves us with a final, big question to chew on. In our modern world, with all its technology, its global connections, its endless distractions, does this century-old advice on the victorious attitude still hold the key to success? Is it still relevant today?